What's up, people? I am back for another video today. Sorry about the mix-up. I was supposed to do X-Men this movie yesterday, but it's just because of my schedule, and I just couldn't get to it till today. So I had decided just to postpone the Prowler. So I'll do that probably next Wednesday. I'm gonna gun for next Wednesday, and the next Tuesday for sure. I'm gonna do it would be First Class next, which I cannot wait. I actually love that movie. Kevin Bacon is the villain, fucking great. But anyway, today we're reviewing X-Men Origins Wolverine. Here's the thing with this movie. I remember seeing this back in 2009 and being like, it was all right. I had fun with it. I have some positives. I don't hate this movie like everyone else does. I don't love it. It's objectively not good. The CGI is absolutely horrible, especially the scenes with Wolverine's claws. Especially rewatching it last night, I'm just like, it is so distracting how bad they look. It is like, what the fuck? It's 2009, and it just. But like, Lee Schreiber as Sabretooth is great. I love him as Sabretooth. While I like Tyler Mane and the first X-Men, I really love Lee Schreiber as Sabretooth. His dynamic with Logan is kind of what I wanted from the original movies. I was kind of hoping we would have got something like that in X2, but then they killed us. So it was cool to actually see that dynamic, because Wolverine and Sabretooth have a long history, and I felt like the movies kind of didn't. Like, the first one tries to touch on it, like you could tell, like Sabretooth has some kind of thing for getting Logan, but then it's like they don't touch on, and they kill Sabretooth off in the first movie. So it's like, so it was at least cool to see that. I did like some of the characters, like Taylor Kitsch as Gambit wasn't bad. So I think there are some positives, and the de-aging for Professor X wasn't horrible. So I don't think it's a completely horrible movie. For me, the only real big issue I have is what they do with I was going to say Baraka, because I call, and this is probably going to be the title of the video, Barrakapool. And to be fair, I didn't make this up. I've seen literally everybody call him that back then. He was Barrakapool, especially with the fucking swords coming out of his. Oh my god, the movie really jumped the shark when they did that, and also the whole fake out with his wife Kayla. Or I think she was fiance Kayla, who they made you seem like she got killed by Sabretooth, and when in actuality she was with Stryker so she can get her sister back, so he can. It was a lame attempt just to have a basically a Emma Frost cameo, because she was Emma Frost's sister. It was so stupid. You could have still had Emma Frost there. You didn't need her to be her sister. I actually really liked that scene when Logan finds her. I thought it was actually a really good scene. Some really good acting from Hugh. And it's like they just fucking abandoned it. They just so stupid when they did that. But basically, it's Wolverine's origin, and I actually think that aspect, like when we see him get the Weapon X, and that actually first fight with Logan and Sabretooth was actually pretty cool. I love like that scene when the look on Hugh's face when he's like, you actually could believe the rage, and that's why like, and some of the stuff they go through. I actually, in the opening with the them as kids and then going through the wars over the years, I fucking love that shit. And even like the opening action scene was kind of cool. And you definitely, apparently Ryan Reynolds wanted to be Deadpool because of Blade Trinity, but then in this movie, when you see him play Deadpool, but then they obviously didn't really do what they did in the end. Oh, God. So Sabretooth seemingly looks like he's killing off the former crew, that Wolverine and Sabretooth worked for. Wolverine gets his ass whooped by Sabretooth after finding his wife dead. And then he goes to Stryker, who I actually met. He's another positive. I really like the act. Danny Huston, I think is his name. He was also the main vampire leader in 30 Days a Night. I thought he's a great villain in this. I thought he played, granted, I think Brian Cox probably is a bit better from X2. I did like him. I think this actor did a good job. That he portrays like he looked like he was on Logan inside. He's like, oh, gave him a fake story, and this is how we get the Weapon X, and then we find out his real plan. They mention his son, and I like the little tweak to his character where he doesn't just flat out hate mutants. He kind of respects them, but he also understands like their powers and that it's dangerous. So it's like a mix. So I thought he was like some of the best parts of the movie. It was like you wanted him to get his. But aside from that, this is that third act is where it really falls, man. And they go to Stryker's secret island. You got the whole fake out, and then they should not have done Barrakapool. That was so shit. They should have just did Wolverine and Sabretooth in the end. That's what it should have been. Wolverine goes to Stryker's island, and this is where we find out that he's been. Or no, it's just he knew that he's working with Stryker. So I'm fine that he knew before, but it would have. So he confronts both of them, and then we get a big final fight between the two. It was kind of lame. We kind of got one, but then Wolverine pretty much kicks his ass. Then this is where we get the Barrakapool fight. I guess it was kind of cool when Wolverine and Sabretooth kind of teamed up in the end. But it was the third act. The effects were absolutely horrible. Like when when Barrakapool would teleport, it looked so shit. It's like, and like this is a movie that came out in 2009, and same year. And as much as I don't like this specific one, Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen, the effects are way better in that. That's actually one of the few positives I will say about that movie. The effects look really good. The effects in this movie just look abysmal. Like any of the mutant scenes. I didn't even mind Will.i.am. I don't necessarily love, really care for Black Eyed Peas, but I thought he was actually pretty good in this movie. As John, I think is his name. He's a mutant who can like teleport. And so I thought that was kind of cool. So there's a couple good things about this movie. So I would give it. That's why I would give it like a 5.5. Part of me wants to give it a 6, but if I'm being objective, 5.5 is about right. I think there's some good, but there's a lot of bad. The whole fake, that's like my big one. I hated that. Because I thought the scene when Wolverine found her and they just did a fake out so they can make her Emma Frost's sister just so you can do the cameo. Even though you could have just did the cameo anyway. I also didn't really need the Cyclops cameo either. Because I guess they wanted us to do that scene in the end where this is where Professor X shows up. Actually didn't mind that part fully. The ending doesn't really make any sense either. They just, Wolverine and Gambit leave, after Wolverine got shot with the animated bullet, which is just a lame way just to, I'm trying to remember if they did something like that in the comics. But it was not executed well here. It wasn't even Wolverine that wanted to get Stryker. It was Kayla, because her power is she can basically persuade you, almost mind control in a way. I didn't really feel like there was really any resolution. Wolverine she dies and then he runs off with Gambit and the movie ends. So this movie was supposed to spawn a series because they were going to do an Origins Magneto, which probably would have been absolute shit. I didn't need a whole movie of that. And I guess in a way it kind of happened with First Class. That's kind of how that got turned into that. Because I think they were going to do Magneto. They're probably going to do Professor X. Excuse me, sorry about that. Just ate. That's why I normally try not to do videos after I eat, but I kind of crunch sometimes. So, but they wanted to do that, so they were probably going to do Magneto. And if that's I think part of the reason they didn't do it because it wasn't well received, and they probably just weren't smart enough and were like, let's just do First Class, which I will talk about next week. That movie is fucking great. I thought it was the new cast they got, like Michael Fassbender as Magneto is almost up there for me with Ian McKellen. I thought he was so good. Same with McAvoy as Professor X. So it was like, can't wait to talk about those. So, and at least some good X-Men movies for a bit. Because then there's First Class after, which, by the way, I'm going to say here, when I get to First Class, we're doing the road cut. I'll probably talk about like the regular cut throughout the video. Because I think the regular cut's still a great movie. The road cut's so much better. And I actually think that one thing, that's probably Anna Paquin's best performance as Rogue. She actually somewhat felt like Rogue in it. She didn't just feel like, because I think Anna Paquin isn't necessarily a bad actress. I think they probably just got her at the wrong time because this, much as I love the early 2000s, they were going for the angsty, the Rogue. So anyway, that's a side point. But Origins, like I said, is a 5.5. I definitely don't recommend it. I understand why a lot of fans fucking hate it. But aside from Barrakapool is really my only big, and the whole fake out. Aside from those two things, that's like my only real big gripes. I mean, CGI is absolute shit. It's especially like I'm gonna say it again. Wolverine's claws. There are just some scenes. The scene where he's in the bathroom with a couple, and he's looking at his adamantium claws. They look so bad in that scene. It's like wow, dude. They didn't even try. Oh, the final fight is the worst when fucking Barrakapool would teleport. It looked so shit. Or even just like the it looked like CGI background. Like when there's a scene where Wolverine's looking down at Barrakapool and like you could see like the sky. I'm like, that looks fucking CGI'd. It just, but yeah, like I said, 5.5. I don't think I would watch this over Last Stand or Dark Phoenix. So at least there's something. I don't even know if I'm gonna do Last Stand. Part of me doesn't want to do Dark Phoenix or even Apocalypse. I might just do Days of Future Past and just kind of end it there. We'll see, because Dark Phoenix could make for a fun roast video. We'll see. But anyway, guys, tomorrow I am gonna be watching The Nun 2. I hope it is better than the first. I've been told it's better, but not much. So I'm assuming it's probably made better, but it's probably still just as bad, like in terms of lore. So, and it sucks because the next week we're doing Annabelle, which I also heard was absolute shit. So it's like, I guess these next few Conjuring related movies are gonna be absolute garbage. So I'll be doing that tomorrow, but at least Friday I'll be talking about something good, nefarious. Finally, I should have did a video for it when it was out, but anyway, let's get to Days of X-Men Origins Wolverine. So the movie opens. We see young Logan, or James as his real name. Kill him, assuming is his dad. It looks like because his dad finds out he's a mutant. This is where we see his first bone claws, which, to be honest, the bone, it's sad when the bone claws look better than the actual adamantium ones. They looked good. Like, I don't know if they were CGI or they used, like, they actually used, like, molds to make the claws. Yeah, they look way better. So Wolverine runs off, along with Victor, who decides he'll watch over him, and then we see them over the years through World War I, World War II, Vietnam. I think Korean War, then Vietnam. I'm gonna be honest. That fucking sequence was great. I love that opening scene. I thought it was cool. It was a good way because it showed like Victor's like bloodlust. Like he just started killing just to kill. Even Logan like would sometimes make faces like, "Bro, what are you doing?" And then they get captured because I think basically they're outed as mutants, thrown in jail. But Stryker offers them a deal and says, "I'll let you out if you come with me and we go do a mission." And him and along other mutants, I can't think of the Asian dude's name, but he basically like a really good shot. Then you have Deadpool or Wade. Which, what sucks is he was good. So at least as bad as this movie is, to some, at least it really showed like Ryan Reynolds could be Deadpool. Like, so that's what they decided to do, an actual Deadpool movie. Which, still debating on if I'm gonna do those. I'm gonna review them, but I might just review them separately because I don't look at them as really X Men movies. Yes, Deadpool's a X Men related character, and they do technically have an X Men member with the girl and Colossus, but it's like, um, I just feel like they should have just did so yeah, I'll just do those another time, but at least that's what this movie did give us. So him as Wade was fun, and I did like the dynamic between the team, and I actually liked the action scenes when they broke in and fucked shit up their little team. Um, then they find this is where we find the adamantium. Um, they go to a village. Victor goes too far because Stryker orders him to kill him, some of the villagers, and Wolverine stops him. And this is where he says this is too far, and he leaves. And I actually did like that scene. And then this is where we see Logan now in Canada. Has a wife, works as a logger, but I don't remember the mutant's name. He's dude from Lord of the Rings, which is cool to see him. He gets killed by Sabretooth, seemingly. Or at least it looks like. Which I hated that they made it I think that was the other problem, I guess, now that I'm thinking about it, I didn't really like that Stryker was working with Victor. I would have rather just Sabretooth legit went on his own. You could have still had Stryker be the villain, ultimately, and maybe they initially don't work with each other. They're doing their own thing, and then maybe Stryker, when he sees that Wolverine isn't cooperating, then he uses Sabretooth. I would have worked it different. I hated that reveal, because I actually was liking the idea of Victor just going loose and fucking people up. So Stryker goes to Wolverine at his job. There are some useless scenes. Like, there's this scene, it's weirdly set up. You have these two dudes just chilling right in the middle of the bridge. This wouldn't happen. Not the way they did it. It was just to have a way to show Kayla has her persuasion powers. Because Logan is about to fight this dude. And then she persuades him to move. When it's like, this was such a weird setup to do that. You could have done it where they're at a store and he bumps into him or something. You could have easily tweaked it. The way they did the setup was weird. It's like, I mean, I know this could be seen as a nitpick, but because there's a lot of other problems with this movie versus that one, but it's just, it is a little bit weird setup just to show our powers. Like, these dudes just parked like right in the goddamn middle of the bridge to have a comment. Who the fuck does that? Like, it's such a weird set. And then, they have a couple moments, which I'll say Wolverine and Kayla had decent chemistry. And then the next day, Wolverine gets Logan. I'm fucked up. Fucking Stryker goes to Logan and asks him to look into it, but Logan refuses. Even says, I did like the "I'm Canadian" line. And then we see Kayla in her car, and then seemingly Victor about to kill her. And I do like the setup. Logan smells her and he just runs. And that's why the fucking reveal pisses me off. It's because it was such a good setup. He smells him, and something's gonna happen because she's in her car, and the way Victor's just scratching the car. Liev Schreiber did such a good job with this. It's unfortunate that this was his only role. Apparently, they wanted him to come back in Logan, but he was filming, I think the show was called like Ray Donovan or something like that at the time, so he couldn't come back, which sucks because I actually really love him as a villain. I think he was so fucking good. He really is like easily the best. He carried this movie. He's like, if I had to say VIP in terms of performance, it's him. I thought that this is the kind of Sabretooth I kind of wanted. Don't get me wrong, Tyler Mane had the physicality, but I just felt like they just didn't do much with him, and then killing him off the way they did. I I loved the first X-Men, but that is, I said in my review, one of my biggest problems with that movie, easily. Because Sabretooth in this movie, I know people brag on it, because I'm even ragging on it. They got this right. They got Wolverine and Sabretooth's like relationship down to a T. And then, like I said, that's why it's made me so mad, because it's so scene. He smells her, Victor. He runs and he finds her. She's like covered in blood, and Logan's just cradling her, screaming at the air. It's so fucking good, and it's like, no, it's fake. Like, why? I know why, but it's just, why, Jeff? They really didn't have to do that for just to have her be Emma Frost. We didn't need that. But yeah, so Sabretooth seemingly kills her. Wolverine finds Sabretooth at a bar. They fight, and Sabretooth whips Logan's ass. This is a pretty brutal fight. Like, I'll be honest. It was already... Logan even got thrown into some logs thrown on him. And then Sabretooth breaks his bone claw. I'm like, damn, dude. Like, I'll admit, this is probably my favorite fight in the movie. Because their next few fights are not really fights. Because Logan, once he gets the adamantium, pretty much it's one-sided. Because, like, I don't know if this is seen later, but when they fight again, and, like, Sabretooth's trying to hit Wolverine with his claws straight up go through his hand. So it's like, the next few fights aren't really fights. Wolverine just kind of beats his ass. So I did like this one, not just because it was kind of one-sided, but I liked that look. Is like, I'm gonna rip your head off. Or no, I know that's later, but like, that look in Logan's eyes is like, damn. So that's why I'm like, Hugh Jackman definitely still brought it as Wolverine. So that's why I can see some positives of the movie, because Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is a plus. So he gets his ass whooped. He goes to the hospital. Stryker goes to him. Wolverine nearly packs him. And this is where we get the story. And Stryker convinces him to do the Weapon X program, which puts adamantium. And I do love this scene. And I actually think one of the few scenes where the claws don't look terrible, and it could just be because he's in the water when the claws first open or come out, it does look a lot better underwater. It could just be because, yeah, like I said, it's the water, so it's not like direct. Because and that's the other problem, is a lot of the claw scenes are like brightly lit, and I think that's what makes it really more of a eyesore when you have like the really bad CGI with it. So it works better. And then he first gets out, and some of the scenes when he first gets out, when he first breaks out, because he hears Stryker say erase his memory, he breaks out, kills a couple guys, and then escapes into a lovely couple's oh man, I don't remember their names, but they were a nice couple. Granted, you clearly knew they were gonna die. This is the scene I was talking about, where the claws like look real, probably the worst. Like when he first looks at them, I'm like, oh my god, dude, what is that editing, man? Like Transformers: Revenge of the Not Transformers. I meant to say Terminator Salvation. That came out the same year, and the movie wasn't great, but the CGI looked amazing in that movie. Like some of the looks of I keep saying Transformers, because I know that was a big one that came out the same year. Terminator, that like those look good. So it's weird that there's other movies that year that came out and that look way better. And I assume this would have a big budget. It's the MCU wasn't the MCU as we know it yet, because Iron Man only come out a year before. So largely it was kind of seen as Fox X-Men was kind of the dominant one. Because you had the Batman. I guess Nolan trilogy kind of took over when Batman Dark Knight came out. But even then, like Fox with their X-Men, still a big deal. So I would think the effects would look a bit better. I don't know if it was just at the time it was rushed. Because my god, the CGI for that, and I don't usually harp on CGI, but this one was like, goddamn, for 2009, like I said, Terminator Salvation, even Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen had way better CGI, and they both came out roughly the same time. Like Revenge of the Fallen was like a month after this movie came out, And Salvation was the same time. I think Salvation was also in. Actually, no, I think Salvation came out the same month as this. They were both May, I think, of 2009. So it's weird. How does, like, it is insane. Anyway, so they have a dinner. Wolverine, then, well, the couple ends up getting killed the next day after getting the old man's son's jacket, which was kind of cool. So this is where he gets his classic jacket. We get a cool little action scene with I'll be honest, I cannot think of the Asian dude's name, but the sniper dude kills the couple, which was, oh man, it was kind of a tragic scene. Like, you knew they were gonna die. We get a cool action scene. Wolverine takes down a helicopter, kills the guy, and threatens Stryker, which I thought that was cool. When he threatened Stryker, and then he wanted the animal. Like, I did like that. Like, when Logan's like, he wanted the animal, like, he got him. I thought that was good. And then we get a signature action scene. He causes a fire, explosion. Then he goes to John, and this is where we get the block cameo, which I thought that was kind of cool. We get like a boxing match, and I think if Wolverine wins, he gets the information about the island, and this is where we find out that Stryker's been taking mutants, and we see also at the same time as this happening, Sabretooth gets Cyclops, which I didn't really need to see Cyclops. It was cool seeing Professor X in the end, and I thought that the aging it's weird. The de-aging did not look terrible. So it's like, the de-aging doesn't look terrible. Why do the claws look terrible? It's like, I don't know if they just put more energy into the de-aging. I could believe that. They probably put more money in that scene just because it is Patrick Stewart, and I wouldn't be surprised they only had him for like a day or not that long. So I could believe that. Wolverine goes to New Orleans. This is where we see Gambit for the first time, and I thought Taylor Kitsch played it perfectly. The only problem is we don't ever see him again, because this is supposed to technically be a prequel to the original. At this time, it would have been the 3 Fox movies. How the fuck? Where did he go? Why did Gambit never come? It was cool seeing him, but it does throw in a little bit like, why wasn't he in the other movies? And it would have been cool to see, because Taylor Kitsch did a good job, and if they actually, granted, again, I understand this is a prequel, so he wouldn't probably have his look, but if you imagine him in like the actual Gambit getup, it would work. And I thought he had, pretty good, Southern voice, Cajun voice. John gets attacked by Sabretooth. We find out it's actually not killing them. He sedates them so they can be taken to the island. I did like that scene, though, when John teleports and Sabretooth catches him and you just see him holding his spine. I did like that scene. Wolverine gets thrown out by Gambit, who hits him with like one of the cards. And then this is where you get I'm going to cut your goddamn head off. And I did like that. Like, Wolverine had some good lines. And this is where it kind of becomes one-sided on the other side. Logan starts beating his ass because now that he's adamantium, makes him much stronger. So, like, Sabretooth tries to, like, attack him and then, like, scratch him, and then Wolverine just straight up stabs him through his hand. And no, that looked good. It didn't look terrible. Gambit gets involved. Sabretooth scurries off. Wolverine convinces, after beating each other up for a little bit, to have him take him to the island. The movie, I'll admit, isn't paced terribly. It kind of goes. Stryker kills like a general who. This is where we get more information about his son, and his thoughts on mutants, which I did like. I liked some of that, and I think if the movie leaned a lot more into that, and same thing with more Victor Wolverine, I honestly think the movie would have been better. It's just that Barrakapool, which I'm going to get to, and he gets dropped off, goes, and this is because pretty much nothing else really happens after this point. So nothing really happened after this. Like, yeah, Wolverine goes because pretty much, yeah, one thing he gets dropped off, and we're pretty much in the final act because Wolverine confronts Stryker. This is where we find out that Kayla has been working for Stryker to pose as his wife because he always knew Wolverine would be the thing that could make Weapon 11, which, oh my god. They should have just made. I would have even been fine if they made it her. She died and she becomes Lady Deathstrike, you know? Even though you did her next too. Because Lady Deathstrike in the comics was the love of Wolverine's. So, granted, it would have been taking liberties because that is. Lady Deathstrike actually has another name. But it. I would have been fine if he wanted to tweak it. Would have worked better than fucking Barrakapool. But yeah, so we find that out. Wolverine walks off, but then Sabretooth comes in, confronts they don't call him Sabretooth though in the movie, they just say Victor. Confronts Stryker about getting the adamantium, because that's the only reason he agreed is because he wants the adamantium. But we find out Stryker basically lied to him. He said, you'll get it, because even the scene at the school, he says our deal's still on. We didn't. I don't think we knew what it was at that point, but he says our deal still applies, and he says yes. And Stryker said yeah. So he lied, because we find out that he said the procedure would kill Sabretooth. You're not, because Sabretooth that's regenerative can regenerate nowhere near as not like Logan's. So it basically said he wouldn't survive it. So then he attacks Kayla. Then Wolverine comes back, and we have a fight between the two, which was alright, but it's very one-sided. Then Wolverine helps Kayla find her sister, and that's the only it was so dumb. I hated it. It was such a nice scene when Wolverine found her, and then you just find out it's fake. Just so you can do the whole Emma Frost sister thing. We really didn't need to do that. And I'm pretty sure the actual character did have a sister. So. And I didn't need that. Especially just so. You could have still had Emma Frost in the movie and not do that. She could have, because I did like that scene. I like that actress. It's not as I'm saying she should die because she's a bad actress character or something. I liked her character in the movie, and I thought that scene was nice and tragic. And then just even at the time when I first watched it, was a little kind of disappointed. I was like, "Why'd you do that?" And then yeah, this is where we get Barrakapool. And my God, man, I don't know what they were thinking with this. Giving him like these black things around his eyes so he can make it kind of look like the comic mask. And then they sewed his mouth shut. Because there's a line earlier where Stryker says, "You'd be the perfect soldier, Wade, if you didn't talk." Oh, I'm mad-libbing. But basically, I guess it kind of hints. So he sewed his... It was stupid. And for me, I was done with the fucking katanas out of his fists instead of like the animanium katanas, which I like that idea. It would have been better if he just had swords. But to have him come out of his fist was dumb. It looked terrible. I don't know what the fuck they were going for, man. It was one of those things. I'll never understand why they did that. Like, this goes down as one of the worst things they've done in a comic book thing. I can laugh at it now because we've had actual good Deadpool movies, so it's fine. But why did they do this? Because all it does, dude. This movie's gonna only be known for that. Because to be honest, like I said, I think there's just some decent shit in it. But it gets overshadowed by and I actually think the third act in general is just bad. This is going on. You have the mutant kids trying to get out so we can get it just to set up to that ending. So it's just such a there was no need for that. And then the fight looked terrible, and basically he's everybody's abilities. He could teleport. He has the moment he did Cyclops' eye laser, I was done. I was like, oh my god, looks terrible. It's not Deadpool. And then yeah, Victor gets involved, and Wolverine and him team up on him, and they're able to distract him long enough for Wolverine to kill him. He, because he did the light laser, Wolverine blocked it. So basically, his adamantium claws are heat, so he sliced um, Wade's head off, and he was dead. And then they have, I did like this moment between him and Victor in the end. You know, the only problem is it doesn't work. Sabretooth, especially if this is supposed to be canon to the movies, how wise they, because it seemed like there's kind of like, obviously they don't like each other, but you know, you can kind of go off, do your thing, kind of ending with them. So I thought that was cool. And yeah, and then Wolverine gets shot with the adamantium bullet, which says it may not kill him, but it will definitely like erase his memory, and his memory's gone. And I think while this happens, Kayla ends up getting shot too, but she persuades Stryker before Stryker was able to kill her into walking, and just walks off basically till his feet bleed. So kind of, I guess, internal damnation in a way. Just painfully walk. I guess that's what they're kind of doing. And then Wolverine, I guess he quickly remembers her. So I guess some of his memory comes back immediately. The other problem I have, it's just after the Barrakapool fight, it's like they did not know how to end it. Because while this happens, yeah, the kids escape and we see Professor X, which that was kind of cool. And like I said, the de-aging technology did not look bad. You know, well, I also said that about the de-aging technology when they did it in The Last Stand. It's weird how de-aging technology 2006 and 2009 look better than a lot of de-aging. Like Leia, like I said, Leia from fucking Rogue One looks terrible. And same with Tarkin. So it's like, and that was 2016. So how does de-aging here look? And it also kind of makes the movie look bad because a lot of bad CGI in this movie. But then it's, I just think in general it's just not a good movie. Not a objectively one. I think it has moments. It just ends. I liked Hugh Jackman. I think Victor, VIP of the film, is Lee Schreiber's Victor. As Sabretooth. I think he was great, and I really do hate that we never got to see him as that role again. It's just unfortunately scheduling. They wanted him for Logan. That would have been amazing to have him in the movie. Because I think he was originally gonna be the villain, like, or X-24's. Apparently, that was originally gonna be Sabretooth. Like, it was gonna be Wolverine, kind of old Wolverine versus old Sabretooth. That would have been a cool kind of final face-off, and then no. Fortunately, it's just scheduling. It happens, man. It happens. You know, it's one of those things. Like, you know, what could have been. So overall, like I said, this movie is a 5.5. It's not good. I think some of the score is okay. The CGI is pretty bad at times. Barrakapool, enough said. That's one of the worst things ever done in a comic book movie. Granted, I still take Barrakapool. I know this is gonna sound kind of fucked up. I'm gonna say it. I'll take Barrakapool over fucking Kristen Wiig as fucking Cheetah. That to me is weight. Because at least we we got kind of memes out of Barrakapool. Cheetah was just, her as Cheetah is just bad. That was painful. So I guess that's the one thing. But the Barrakapool is just awful. Like, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking going with that. I don't know what they were smoking. It's because now all this movie's really remembered for is that. Because like I said, I think there's some good stuff, but it gets overshadowed because you had fucking Barrakapool, and now everyone just knows this movie. Only thing they know from this movie is that. So like I said, out of 10, it's a 5.5. Like I said, there's some good stuff. I want to give it a 6, but it probably doesn't really deserve a 6. If I'm being honest, I think there's some bad shit. I think a nice middle would be 5.5. It just, if they just stuck the landing and just did a lot more of the Victor Logan stuff, or even the Wolverine um, Stryker stuff. I think that's the other reason I really love X2 is how much they explored Stryker and Logan's relationship. So you could have done both of those in this, and I think if they leaned more into those, the movie would have probably been better. So anyway, um, tomorrow, Nun 2. I'm hoping it's just make it. Please just be watchable and not fucking boring. I was just bored to death, man, watching None last week. I was done. I was just so I've never been so bored watching a movie. So I'm hoping this is better. I don't know how much better it will be, but we'll see. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna peace out. All right, y'all. Talk to y'all tomorrow.